Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. Reality, Spirituality. It's a new experience. Reality, Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality, Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Reality, Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality, Spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I wish there was a video of me right before the show today. I had phone calls coming in before the show, trying to talk to people and schedule the show at the same time. Woo! Now, that's self-caused drama. When I was younger, I remember always rushing to get places, and I was always late. And I finally figured out that I was just creating drama for myself. Drama. So I'm gonna have to check all this and just, step it up a little bit. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, and thank you so much for listening. New listeners, welcome. Who is she? Who is this person? Who is this person with this voice of, she thinks she knows everything about happiness? Well, let me tell you something, people. I know a lot. And I know a lot because I have been studying. I have been researching, I have been seeking, I have done all the homework for you. I have taken all the tests. I have taken all of the quizzes. I have taken all of the midterms and the finals for you. I'm about to share with you the answers. Now, do I know everything about happiness? I'm going to have to say I know a lot. I know, and the reason why I know is because when I was younger, I asked for two things. I wanted to live to my potential, and I wanted to be happier. And I'm telling you, whenever you ask, you are given an answer. And, of course, I thought this being happy meant, oh, I feel good all the time, or, oh, look at all the great things happening. No. I just wrote this down today. I don't need to feel peaceful to be peaceful. See, my ego tells me that there's things that are wrong. Something's wrong. Something's not right. The person is wrong. The circumstances are wrong. Nothing has to be right in order for me to feel right and feel peaceful. It could be chaos all around me. And I always use this example of, close your eyes just for a minute. So you're standing in this single rowboat. You're all by yourself in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And you know the Atlantic Ocean, it is turbulent, and the waves are crashing. I mean, isn't that where the Titanic went down? The waves are crashing. The sea is restless, my friend. But you are standing in that boat, and you are feeling peaceful. You have a vibration of peace. You have an energy of peace. And that's what I talk about when I say happiness. For me, happiness is defined to be at peace regardless of what happens, and to be at peace regardless of what doesn't happen. In other words, I am rooted. My foundation is peace. I'll use the word happy, use the word content, use the word satisfied, use the word feeling balanced. It's annoying. It's annoying, not annoying. Not annoying. It's annoying, my dear audience, that, yes, I am at peace. I am peace. I am rooted in peace. Whew. Well, before I go on, I just want to share, because I always save it for the end, and I know people tune out maybe halfway through the show sometimes. So you can email me at info@RebeccaNorrington.com. I have free consultations for 30 minutes. First 30 minutes are free. info@RebeccaNorrington.com. Send me a name, also a contact number, and I also am available for talks, weekend retreats. I'm available for one-on-one sessions. I'm here on this planet to share with you my perspective, what I've found, the things that I found that actually, listen, I can tell you that some behaviors that you're doing programmed to do, are subtracting from your peace and from your happiness. You might not know that. And then I share with you what adds to happiness, because it's very simple. You eliminate the behaviors that subtract from happiness, and then you practice the behaviors that add to it. And what will happen after a period of time is you'll look back and you'll say, what? I remember who I used to be. I remember how I used to be. I remember when that used to bother me. And with that comes one of my favorite stories of the week. Oh, let me go back to what's in the news. I like to do what's in the news. You know, I'm writing the second book called Programmed for Unhappiness. Programmed for Unhappiness, because it is not your fault. This world seeks, wants happiness. I mean, it's been written about from Newsweek. I was looking at a Newsweek magazine. Was it Newsweek or Time? Talking about the science of happiness. You know, we preach about it. What do you want? I want to be happy. I mean, isn't that it? Isn't that the ultimate? Isn't that the ultimate state? The state of peacefulness, the state of being? And this happiness is not going to come from you doing anything. See, that's the key. When I say doing, I mean actively doing and pursuing happiness. Well, you're going to write a lot of goals. Well, my 6-month goal, cross off the list, cross off the list, cross off the list. That's going to make me happy. No. I don't care if you hit all of your goals. That is not sustainable, that feeling. That's why it's an endless search. Because achieving goals, unless it's a goal to be more conscious, and a goal to be more conscious, and a goal to be more aware, unless it's a universal goal, and a goal to practice using intuition. Yeah, those goals are going to bring about a lot of peace and happiness. But I'm talking about those man-made goals. You know what I mean. You know the difference. You know the difference between man-made and universal goals. So those man-made goals might be great for a moment, might be great for a couple moments, might last, but there is always something else. There's always something. There is a sense of dissatisfaction. And if you feel dissatisfied in this moment, you're going to feel dissatisfied in all of your future moments too. So it is a practice of being satisfied in the moment, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what it feels like. It is a practice of satisfaction, a practice of vibing, of sending out that energy, of being that energy of satisfaction. So what's in the news today? You know, if you listen to the show, yeah, I know I guess so many diverse things that I like. And I have to say I like rap music. Not all of it. Not all artists, but there's certain artists that I like. And one of those artists is hot on the scene now, and it's Cardi B. And Cardi B just had a little daughter. I'm looking at a video that she made. And she's, now she's back to work. So she had her little baby, and she's back to work. And she said in this video, she says, I wonder if when I'm not around, if my baby misses me. I wonder if my baby misses me. Now, let me just say this. This my second book, Programmed for Unhappiness. We have all been programmed for this somebody's gone. I don't see them in a long time, and now I miss them. So this wonderful, innocent little baby is going to get programmed to miss people. and I'm saying that, now, what's wrong with that? Well, is there any balance, or is there any balance or any peace in missing someone? Now, I get a lot of, well, that's normal. Rebecca, that's normal. We're human. That's normal. No, it's not normal. It's programmed. Because that baby is born. When that baby sees you, that baby's going to be happy. And when that baby doesn't see you, the baby's going to be fine. But when we program into a youngster the program of missing people, there is a lot of misery. There's a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety that goes with missing somebody. And my son lives clear across the country in New York. Now, I speak to him. I don't talk to him all the time. And I see him maybe twice, maybe 3 times a year. But that vibe of, and I have to say, when he first moved, missing, yes, definitely. But when I prioritize wanting to be happier and I prioritize peace, this missing vibe, this program of missing, I know this isn't even the topic, of missing somebody is a program. And anything that's man-made, man-programmed, I'm eliminating. So that's what I just gathered out of that really quick video, that's another child being programmed. But it's rampant. It's just not that one particular. It's not just her. We're all the world has been programmed to believe. You know, those 19 people that flew into the World Trade Center that blew up the building, that was a program. They didn't grow up having that intention. So we're fighting a program, people. Well, let's get to today's topic. Jeez, what a long introduction. Okay. Today's topic is one thing. If you eliminate this behavior, if you practice eliminate, again, because it is a skill, happiness is a skill that can be acquired. It is a practice. It's an everyday practice. And when you practice this specific one, because there's a long list of things to eliminate, there's a long list to eliminate that's going to add to your happiness. I'm not going to tease you. I'll read some of them. What subtracts from happiness? Blaming anybody for how you feel. Comparing yourselves to others. And this third one is noticing what someone else is doing. Let me just hit you with that, because that's what today's topic is. You want to be happier? Stay out of everybody else's business. What? Okay, I'll say it again. You want to be happier? Stay out of everybody else's business. That includes your adult children. That includes your husband. That includes your wife. That includes your twin sister, your twin brother. That includes your neighbors. That includes your coworkers. Stay out of everybody else's business. Now, if you don't want to be happier, and if you're not committed to being more peaceful, get in everybody's business. Notice what somebody else is doing. My first story about that came this week. I'm at a farm. When I say farm, excuse me. Hold on a second. I've got to get some water. Hold on. This is live radio. Hold on. Gulpity gulp gulp. Okay, good. A little smacking of the lips always helps too. So I was at this farm shopping for produce, and you know, this produce is fresh off the trees. And what's in season now is corn, fresh corn. And you can either, and there were 2 boxes of corn. There was the yellow corn, the yellow sweet corn, and then the multicolored corn, the white and the yellow corn. So you have an option when you're buying your corn. You can either shuck it there at the little stand and just leave it for compost. I guess they compost the corn husks, or you can take it not and of course you can take it with you. So I was shucking it. I was peeling off the husk, peeling it off, because I learned how to do that in the last few months, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm quick. I've got a little system going. And there was one corn, and listen, and I have to say I'm still a city girl, because I found a worm in the top of the corn, and I screamed, not very loud, but I went, whoa! Oh, if the bugs don't get me, the wild animals in the forest will. So I screamed, and there was a little area where the corn was, and it was a little soft, and I put it in the bin to be recycled. I no, thank you. And there was this lady that was right across from me. She was on the other side of the box, because it is a big box of corn. And then she looked and she said, "Why did you put that corn in? Why did you, in other words, put it into the trash? Basically, where the corn husk is trash. Why did you do that?" I said, "Well, it's soft here," and worm came back and said, "Oh, that's nothing. That doesn't matter." And she said it with a vibration of, "I would never do that," and I'm not sure. Let me stop trying to read her mind, but because I can't imagine. But she did not like that I put that supposedly big piece of corn into the recycling area, and it could have been, somebody could have taken it. And I said, "Well, you can take it. You can take it." And sure enough, she picked it up and she put it in her bag. Now, that's a very mild example of staying out of anybody else's business. But I can tell you right now, based on the vibration that I got, she wasn't too happy with the way I was choosing my corn. And what I want to say with that is noticing what anybody else is doing and how they're doing it is always going to subtract from your peace and your happiness, unless you're looking at it and say, "Wow, I like what they're doing, and I look at that," and wanting to, and really admiring it. But if you're looking at anyone else with eyes of finding fault or finding something wrong, if you're looking with any eyes like that at anyone else, and it is rampant in this world, it is rampant, that behavior, you're only subtracting from your own happiness. Now, the number to call in to speak with me live is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And I have people in the queue, but some people just like to listen. If you want to speak with me live, just press the number 1 and you'll be connected. So, minding somebody else's business. Let me share another story, and it's the same vibe, on the same tip, but it's about what you believe, your beliefs. How rigid and how rooted are you in your beliefs? Are you so rooted in your beliefs that you can't, or you don't have an open view, or you can't be open about something else? Now, there's certain things that I'm rooted in, certain things that I know. You can't get me to fight anymore. I mean, when I say I surrender, I practice surrendering. I'm rooted in surrendering. I'm rooted in trusting. I'm rooted in accepting. I'm rooted in choosing my perspective. I'm rooting in being okay with uncertainty. I'm rooted in living consciousness. I'm rooted in being myself, and I'm rooted in humbling my ego as much as possible, because that ego wants to be heard. So I'm rooted in those things. You're not going to get me off of that. But being rooted in let me just give you a perfect example. This week I was volunteering at the senior center, and that's going to be my weekly thing, volunteering at the senior center during the meal time. And I volunteered so far 3 times already. But the first 2 times, I remember when I got there and I was, making sandwiches, making salads, helping out, waiting on tables, serving the dishes, serving drinks. And then I would always bring the dishes back, and there's an area where there's an area where they put the dishes, and those dishes need to be washed. Now, the first day I was there was this gentleman, and he was washing those dishes and scrubbing those dishes. And I remember saying to myself, I'll do anything. Well, there's two things that I said I wasn't going to do. I'm not cleaning toilets. I'm not cleaning the bathroom. I said, I'll do anything except for washing dishes. I don't mind serving. I don't mind getting food. I don't mind making food. I don't mind picking up plates off the dining room table. None of that. I'm not washing dishes. I don't wash dishes at my own house. If I didn't have a dishwasher, I'd buy a dishwasher. And one of the reasons why is because when I was younger, that's all we had to do, wash the dishes. And my father was such a stickler that he would inspect each dish. I'm telling you, I have a block where it comes to washing dishes. He would inspect each dish, and I remember one time there was a fork that he found that was dirty, and he dumped all the dishes back into the sink, and I had to wash the dishes again. So I have to say that I have an aversion to washing dishes, especially if I don't have to. I'm volunteering. Can I volunteer? Listen, I will put groceries away. They had groceries that they just purchased at the store. I was putting groceries away. I was putting equipment away, but I ain't washing no dishes. I ain't birthing no babies, and I ain't washing no dishes. So I made that statement my first day that I was there. The second time I was there, I'm serving food again. And the third time I got there, which was this week on a Thursday, and the lady that was in charge, and I said, what, give me an assignment. What do you want me to do? She says, I want you to wash the dishes. My dear audience, for a split second, I froze because it was a week before I said, I'm not washing dishes. I froze, and I knew that it was just the universe is just another setup. Do I accept? Am I going to surrender? Am I going to resist? Or am I going to get in and wash the dishes? And shut up. Shut the F up and wash the dishes. I can say fuck. Shut the fuck up and wash the dishes. What am I going to do? My dear audience, I washed dishes for probably 2.5 hours because, listen, those plates keep coming. Lunchtime is there. People keep eating. People keep bringing dirty dishes. This needs to run out of dishes. Have to make more dishes. And then you got to sterilize dishes. I was washing dishes, and after maybe a few minutes, I started having fun, started having a good time, got a little system going, washing dishes. I got my gloves, put an apron on. And the thing is, when you're washing dishes in a commercial kitchen, you have to sterilize the dishes. So there is this machine that you put in, and it steams, and as soon as it opens up, the steam comes out. And I got curly hair already, and it was just steaming up my hair even more. But I'm sorry, ego, but you're not going to win on that one. You're not going to win on me resisting washing dishes. I washed dishes, and I got to a point where I was singing and jumping and so lighthearted about washing dishes. So with that lesson comes resist nothing and making a bold statement. I'm speaking for myself, but you might hear this one. Making any bold statements of what I'm not going to do, I'm never going to do, I'm not going to do it. I know that bathroom's right, that cleaning the bathroom's right around the corner. No, I'm just kidding. Making those statements just puts you in a state of being ready to resist of what I'm not going to do. So that taught me a big lesson, and I can't wait to wash dishes again. I had fun washing dishes. Washing dishes was very satisfying and very fulfilling, and I did a great job. So that's a story about the washing dishes. You know, the most important lessons in this life, the most important lessons, the most important things, we're not taught. We're not taught how to be happy. We're taught 2 + 2 = 4. We're taught how to run a business. We're taught how to wash dishes. We're not even taught how to have a successful, peaceful relationship. You know, looking out into the world, relationships are supposed to be drama. You're supposed to have arguments. You're supposed to go back and forth and have disagreements and get mad and not talk to each other. That's not supposed to happen. In other words, that's a program. Oh, you said this to me, so now I'm going to be mad. You said this to me, now you get the cold shoulder. I'm telling you, the most important thing that can be taught is how to be at peace and how to be happy. Because when you are that, and when you're rooted in that, and that is your foundation, you won't argue with anyone. You're done. There's no reason to argue. You win. I wish somebody would argue with me. They'll win every time. They will win every time. I might say what I believe one time, but if it's not received, or you want to do a counterpoint punch, if I punch, you punch, audience, you win. I'm not arguing with you, and I'll agree to whatever you believe in, because my peace is more important than being right. Going back to minding everybody else's business, let me share this last story with you. It's one of my favorites of the week also. So I was at my chiropractor's office, and he knows a lot of stuff. He knows it all. Wink, wink, wink. I recognize a know-it-all because I used to be one. Now, I know a lot of stuff about happiness, but everything else you guys can win. You win. So I went in and I, needed a little adjustment, neck, back, a little tight. That's my thing. Shoulders tight, neck tight. Adjustments, I feel great after. So he says, do you have a headache with that? I said, maybe a little dull tightness, maybe a dull headache. He says, on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate it? And I'd say maybe a 5 or 6. And he says, it's not enough to make you have a bad day. It's not enough so it's not enough to give you a bad day or to make you have a bad day. That's what he said. And then I said, then I said, no headache would give me a bad day. And then he said, well, you haven't had a bad enough headache. Now, that right there, his beliefs, his perspective, his way of thinking is bad headache, a headache on a scale of 10, that means I'm having a bad day. I am not going to try to talk him into believing what I believe, because having a physical pain, having financial issues, having a relationship, it doesn't matter, circumstances, car breaks down, I'm not going to have a bad day, because a bad day is a perspective. A bad day is a program. It is a program belief. A, B, and C happen, so that means I'm going to have a bad day. And I'm fighting tooth and nail with everything I have. I'm fighting all of these programs. There is no way a program is going to dictate whether or not I have a good or a bad day. Being conscious, committing to happiness, committing to being more peaceful means to be conscious in every moment and knowing that consciously there is nothing that causes a bad or a good day. This life, this journey is just an experience. It is an experience without judgment. So when you throw in a judgment, you're subtracting from your happiness. Now, all judgments subtract from happiness. I said I was going to give you a list of things that subtract from happiness. I'm just going to whip through them really quick. We said it already, blaming anyone or anything for how you feel, comparing yourself to others, noticing what someone else is doing, talking about what somebody else is doing, thinking anything is serious, thinking anything is important, wanting someone else to think what you think is important is important. When you want somebody else to think what you think is important, you want them to believe that's important too. Now, I'm going to say, listen, I think being happy, I think being peaceful is top of the mountain. The top of Mount Everest is the highest. Now, some people don't think being happy is important. And that's okay. That's okay. But I used to run around here thinking, happiness is the most important. Don't you get it? No. If you don't think being happy is the most important, that's good. I'm good with that. Sharing bad news. All expectations subtract from your happiness. Giving power to words subtracts from your happiness. Having any attachment to a person, place, or thing, or to an outcome. Having an attachment to an outcome. Well, this is supposed to turn out like this. No attachment. All attachments subtract from your happiness. Living in the past, living in the future. Having preferences. There you go with the dishwashing story. Oh, I'm not going to wash. I'll do this. I'll do everything, but I'm not washing dishes. Having preferences subtracts from your happiness. And in that instant, in that moment, those preferences had to be thrown out the window. Out the window. Because I'm prioritizing happiness. Taking anything personally. Taking anything personally will subtract from your happiness. I don't care if somebody is writing to you, talking, screaming your name, you are, and they're calling you names, it's still not personal. When somebody else is angry, it's not about you. They will say it's about you, and we were programmed to believe that it's because of us. It's not us. I don't care what anybody says to me. I know it's never personal. Worrying. All worrying subtracts from happiness. And all worrying only means what? Worrying only means that you don't trust. That's all it is. When you trust, there is no reason to worry. Needing to be right. We know that subtracts from happiness. Impatience, rushing. Rushing subtracts from happiness. We could go on and on and on forever with all of this, but knowing those few things, and if you want to speak with me, all you do is just press the number 1 if you want to speak with me or ask a question. But with those things, listing another thing, being embarrassed. How about this? Being embarrassed only means, what does that mean? When you're embarrassed, do Do you know what's really behind that? How many of you out there get embarrassed? Raise your hand. Oh, a few of you. A lot of you. That being embarrassed is another programmed behavior. It's another programmed emotion. All of these emotions are programmed, all of them. So can you be happy and embarrassed at the same time? But being embarrassed, what the root of that means, the bottom line is you care what other people think. And when you care what other people think and you behave like that, guess what? That means you can't be yourself. If you're behaving in a way, or if you're behaving because you care what other people think, then you are not being able to be yourself, and you're not being able to be free. Freedom comes from being yourself, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, whatever that sounds like. And I know it's a big thing, getting embarrassed, but I'm telling you right now there's a freedom. The only reason why I was able to shake that embarrassing gene, it's because teaching fitness classes for over years, when you're in front of people, everything's happened to me that you can imagine being in front of an audience while you're teaching a fitness class, from perspiration and places that yikes, where's the perspiration? I'm talking about perspiration that's not just coming from under the arms. I'm talking about perspiration in places that, yikes. And then, of course, you have a mirror right in front of you so everybody can see. And then being a girl, I remember starting my period right when I was teaching classes. And sure enough, right there, red dripping from the tights. I mean, when I'm saying all that to say that, yes, when that first happened, embarrassment all over the place. But when the commitment to being happier, that embarrassment gene had to go. I can't be embarrassed anymore. I just can't. It's going to subtract from my happiness. And even more importantly, I see people, and I'm still working on it, people in the locker rooms, especially when I was in California, women in the locker rooms, and there's some women that can walk around with absolutely nothing on, with no kind of physique, with no kind of, I'm talking about all sizes, walking around with nothing on. I look at that and I say, wow, that's some freedom right there. That is the freedom that you can just walk and not care what anybody thinks about your body that's 100 pounds overweight. People that I see in the pool, and I don't know. I gotta take my hat off, because it's getting back to that program of not being okay with my body and thinking my body needs to be changed, or my body, shaming, body shaming. We've heard of that. Self-body shaming. What is that? All of these things subtract from happiness. And I know I got off the topic here. Of course, I always do. But so wrapping everything up today, the bottom line is this. When you notice what anybody else is doing, when you're in anybody else's business, and especially if you're noticing and you make a comment about it, and this goes from people that you don't know, people in the news, people in the media, from those people to people in your inner circle, from family members to neighbors to relatives, family member, relatives, same thing. When you notice what other people are doing and you make a judgment about it, especially a judgment that, look at them, and you're only shooting yourself in the foot. You are subtracting from your happiness, from your peace. Now, if you want to subtract, go for it. We have choices. We have choices of what we practice, and we have choices of how we behave, and we have choices of whether or not to judge or accept. And the only reason, I know I've said it 100 times on this show, and the only reason why I used to judge is because I judged myself. So whatever you see out there in the world, know that you are describing yourself. Whatever you see out there, that is who you are. You see peace, you see order, or you see a lot of problems. You see exactly who you are. And who you are and what you are is what you are contributing to this planet. Your vibration, your energy is your contribution. This looking in the mirror is not an easy task. Looking in the mirror, finding or looking for solutions and answers, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to look in the mirror. I'm raising my hand. It's painful. It's challenging. But looking in the mirror and discovering things about self and discovering the truth will set you free to a life of peace and happiness, meaning that it doesn't have to be right out there. Things don't have to fall into place. Everything doesn't have to work out. But when you're rooted in peace, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what's happening. How's that? How's that for a show? Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday, and in fact, next week we're going to have a guest on the show, Robert Sharp, who wrote a book, which it's a really fascinating book. In fact, it's called The Heart and Soul of Caring by Robert Sharp, and he's going to be a guest on next week's show. And let me tell you something. Reading this book, it's about caregivers and care receivers and their families and their stories. There's 11 stories here. And let me say this, that reading this book, and I made a lot of notes, all of the suffering that these people were feeling from their loved ones being in a state that they needed to have care, they needed to have 24/7 care, whether they were incapacitated, whether they had dementia, whether they had a stroke, whatever the situation was, all of the suffering was because of the programming that we all received about what happens and how do we feel and how do we judge. Because, and I'm going to share with this story next week, because I had the same thing happen with my father. And for the last few years, 3 years of his life, he was in a state, he had dementia. And I cannot wait to share that story with how, especially, being a happiness specialist here, but prioritizing happiness, how I chose to and accepted his, I'm going to put air quotes here, illness, because my perspective was those last 3 years with my father having dementia and going through what he went through and being, basically going back to being a child, were the best years that I've had with my father. And I'll explain why next week. Oh, gee, the tears are starting to come already. And I'll explain why next week. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Tune in next week when we're going to have a guest on the show, Robert Sharp. Visit my website at RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel is out. Yes, you can find me on YouTube. And it's a few videos of a book signing that I did this year, January 2018 in Oregon. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon and or Lulu.com. My second book, which I'm writing now, Program for Unhappiness, will be out sometime. Who knows when? And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You're a physical extension of the universe. You're always changing. You're always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. Have a conscious week. Reality Spirituality. Talk to you next week.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality Spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Get real. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality